Yesterday, Trump spoke at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, and he spoke about a lot of different things. He went on many weird tangents, as he usually do, many of which were fact-checked later. But what I want to focus on is what he said about Greenland and the relationship to Europe, because going into this meeting, there was a lot of uncertainty of what he would say, if he would, escalate the situation by, I don't know, saying that he would attack Greenland or threatening with military force again, or if he would try to de-escalate. And the good news is that there was some big de-escalation. Trump said that he won't use force to take Greenland, so he won't use military force, or I don't know if he means force overall, but he also said that he won't proceed with the tariffs that he threatened against the European countries that supported Denmark. So that's good news. But then again, it's the word of Trump, and I don't know how worth that is. I mean, he could change his mind as fast as the wind changes direction. And it seems like the situation is still kind of crazy, out of control, because he still seems to want Greenland. But it's just that he has ruled out using, he says he has ruled out using force or by doing it with tariffs, which seems to be because of the big pushback he got from Europe. Europe suspended the trade agreement with the United States. There wasn't really an agreement in the EU to use this anti-coercion instrument, which could really hurt American businesses. But just the talk of it may have scared them. I don't know. He didn't really give a reason, but the situation is still ongoing, and I just wanted to put up a timeline. So the US says they need Greenland, but Denmark doesn't want to sell Greenland. I mean, it's their territory, plus that Greenland is an autonomous territory, so the Greenlanders would also have to choose to become part of the US, which they do not want. So instead, the US is trying to force Denmark to sell its territory, and they have threatened to use military force, and they have threatened with new tariffs. Now, in this speech, Trump says that they aren't going to use military force or tariffs. And let's hope he really means that. But that doesn't, I mean, he has removed his threats, but he still made them. I mean, they have still hurt the relationship with Europe. So now when he walked it back, it seems like it was for nothing. What was the point? Threaten your allies, weaken your relationship with your allies, make it so that your allies can't trust you. And then just, I mean, it's good that he did remove his threats, but it just makes it so clear, that how pointless it was. But now the question is how bad Trump still wants Greenland. I mean, in his speech, he did say he won't use force or tariffs, but it was pretty clear that he still thought the US deserved Greenland. He was talking about how the US always does so much for Europe, for Denmark, but that now it was time that they got something in return, and that should be Greenland, which is crazy, at least according to me. So the question is, what could there be some other ways for him to force Europe or Denmark to give up Greenland? And what has been brought up is that perhaps he will use Ukraine as leverage. The US has been dialing back its support for Ukraine, and it seems like they want to have peace at almost any cost, even if it means giving up many concessions to the Russians. And it seems like Trump could, I mean, he hasn't said that he would do this, but maybe he would, condition support for Ukraine or condition pressure against Russia on him getting Greenland, which would be a big betrayal both to Ukraine and Europe. And even though Europe now stands for most of the support for Ukraine, in the US is still very important. I mean, first of all, put pressure on Russia to make a peace, but also, much of the intelligence that Ukraine uses is coming from the US. And now France has replaced some of that intelligence. So France is providing intelligence for Ukraine, but not to 100%. So there's still some reliance on the US there. Then there are also doubts about US NATO involvement, and maybe Trump will condition his involvement, his participation in the NATO with him getting Greenland. And he did cast some doubts in his speech about Greenland, it seems, because he wasn't saying that out loud, but he was saying that, of course, the US would support Europe, but Europe would never support the US. That's why it's so unfair, which is just factually wrong, because the only time Article 5 has actually been activated was after 9/11, when Europe came to support the US in the war against terror. So Europe has factually come to America's aid when they were attacked. But now Trump says that, yeah, the US would support Europe, but I'm not sure about Europe supporting the US. And that seems like opening up for saying that, oh, then the US shouldn't help Europe if they're not helping us. So it seems like, even though he's saying that they would support Europe, it seems like he's opening up to saying that they don't want to defend Europe, or that they shouldn't support Europe. So that could be, but I don't know. I mean, Trump is very impulsive. It's very hard to predict what he will do. But I'm just saying that there are other ways than military force or tariffs to put pressure on Europe. And I don't think Europe will buckle on this. I don't think Trump will be successful in taking Greenland. I mean, he doesn't have even domestic backing, among his own party. And if Europe doesn't buckle, I think there's no way he will be able to actually get Greenland. But that doesn't mean that he can create a lot of chaos on the way to try it. So that's my conclusion.